What if I told you that the instant your heart stops is not the end, but the beginning of the most profound journey you will ever take? Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, revealed that the first 24 hours after death are unlike anything we've been taught. They are not just a moment of transition, but a concentrated, sacred passage that shapes everything your soul will experience afterward. These are not abstract ideas or comforting metaphors. Cayce described them as vivid, measurable stages that could completely transform how you see life, death, and yourself. Imagine this: your final breath slips away, the warmth drains from your body, silence surrounds you, and yet you are still here, not in your body, but just above it, seeing it, sensing it, feeling a strange mix of detachment and recognition. According to Cayce, the very first seconds after death are filled with heightened awareness, sharper than anything you've ever felt while alive. Every detail in the room, every emotion on the faces around you, every sound, from the faintest whisper to the sob of someone holding your hand, is magnified. Cayce described this moment as a sacred split. One part of you instinctively tries to reach for the body, as if to slide back in. The other part begins to realize there's no going back. It is here that the soul experiences what he called the veil shift, the subtle but irreversible recognition that you are no longer bound to the physical world. And yet, you are still you. You can think, remember, and feel, but you cannot move a muscle of your earthly shell. In the first minutes, Cayce said, the soul often hovers no more than a few feet from the body, drawn by a kind of energetic tether. This is not a choice. It is a natural stage in the detachment process. You're watching yourself from the outside, absorbing the reality of the moment. Some souls feel peace, others panic, but all, Cayce emphasized, are aware, far more aware than they were just moments before. And then something remarkable begins to happen. Flashes of memory erupt like sparks, not in chronological order, but as a flood of emotion. You remember your first steps, the face of your mother, the sound of your father's voice, the laughter of a friend, the words you wish you had never spoken. You feel what others felt because of you: joy, pain, gratitude, heartbreak. It is not judgment from above, it is judgment from within, from what Cayce called your higher self, a part of you that has always known the truth. These first minutes are critical. The soul begins to loosen its hold on the body. And yet, according to Cayce, for the next several hours, it will remain close, not out of longing, but because the full release takes time. Like waking from a deep dream, you need to orient yourself before you can move on. In this suspended space, you are neither entirely here nor fully there. You are in the threshold. As the first hour slips by, you notice something strange. The room you're in feels wider, not physically, but in presence. The air hums with a faint vibration, and there's a subtle glow that doesn't come from any light source you knew in life. Edgar Cayce explained that this is the moment when the soul begins to perceive the non-physical spectrum, energies, beings, and patterns that were invisible while you were alive. You're still drawn toward your body, but now your attention flickers. You hear voices, not just the ones of those grieving near you, but whispers beyond them. Some are familiar, others are not. Cayce called these the welcoming currents. A gathering of guides, loved ones who passed before you, and sometimes unfamiliar presences sent to steady your journey. They don't force themselves on you. They wait, patient and calm, for the moment you're ready to notice them fully. Hours 2 and 3 feel like a blur. You drift between looking at your body and scanning the room with a new kind of sight. Walls no longer block your vision. You can sense the street outside, the neighbor's kitchen, the tree swaying in the wind. The limits of space are dissolving. But here's the thing Cayce stressed. Not every soul is ready to let go immediately. Some linger out of love, others from fear, and some simply out of habit. You might try to speak to the people around you, to touch their shoulder, to call their name. And when they don't respond, the truth deepens. They can't hear you, no matter how hard you try. That's when a wave of quiet realization settles over you. Your chapter in the physical world has closed. By hour 4, the tether begins to thin. You feel lighter, but also aware of a pull, not a hand, not a rope, but a gentle gravity leading you upward and outward. Cayce compared this to the way a tide carries a ship away from shore. You don't have to swim. You simply drift, carried by a current you can trust. And yet part of you turns back, wanting just one more moment to hold on. At this stage, many souls, Cayce said, choose to linger close enough to witness the first waves of grief. You might watch your loved ones make phone calls, hold each other, or sit in stunned silence. You'll see tears fall, hear the tremble in their voices and feel their pain, not as a weight, but as an echo. And in a strange twist, you'll also feel their love more purely than you ever did in life. But as the 6th hour approaches, the world beyond becomes clearer. Colors seem richer, sounds are layered with meaning, and the presence of those unseen guides grows warmer. This is the point of no return, the hour when the pull toward the next realm becomes stronger than the hold of the earthly one. By the 7th hour, you're no longer standing in the room where your body lies. You're slightly above it, as if the world itself has tilted and you're floating on a soft current. The pull is stronger now, like an unseen wind at your back, and you begin to realize that it doesn't matter whether you fight it or not. It will carry you. Edgar Cayce described this as the soul's first surrender, the moment when resistance fades and curiosity takes over. The scene around you changes. The edges of the physical world blur like ink dissolving in water. What was once a hospital room, a bedroom, or a quiet street becomes something more. A luminous horizon appears, and with it a sense of infinite depth. It's not up or down, it's inward. Around hour 8, you may encounter what Cayce called the familiar bridge, a pathway shaped entirely by your own consciousness. For some, it's a meadow glowing with morning light. For others, it's a shoreline at sunset. This isn't fantasy. It's the soul's way of translating the energy of the next realm into something you can understand. And on that bridge, you may see figures, faces, loved ones who passed long before you. They don't speak in words, but in impressions, sudden floods of memory, warmth, and understanding. They aren't there to pull you in, but to remind you that you belong to something greater than the life you just left. Between the 9th and 12th hour, a review begins, but not the life review you've heard about in near-death experiences. This is smaller, sharper, focused entirely on your last days, hours, and moments. Every choice, every emotion, every word exchanged in that final stretch appears in perfect clarity. It's not judgment, it's preparation, the sorting of threads before the tapestry is stored away. By hour 14, you start to feel time itself loosening. Minutes no longer march forward. Instead, everything exists all at once. The scent of rain from years ago, the smile of a child, the sound of a song you loved, the sting of words you regret. You see them, feel them, and then they dissolve, leaving you lighter each time. Somewhere between hours 15 and 18, you reach what Cayce called the quiet shore. Here the pull stops. There is only stillness, like a held breath. It's the space between worlds, a pause before a decision. You could linger here, wrapped in the comfort of what you've known, or step forward into the unfamiliar. And though you may hesitate, there's a knowing deep inside. Forward is the only way. By hour 19, the quiet shore begins to change. The stillness is replaced by a soft radiance that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. You feel lighter, not just in body, which you no longer have, but in thought. Every trace of heaviness, every ache you carried through life is gone. Edgar Cayce said, "This is when the silver cord, the final energetic link to the physical body, fully dissolves. You are no longer a visitor in the spirit world. You are part of it." Around hour 20, you may notice the presence of beings you do not recognize from your earthly life. They are not friends or family, but they feel familiar in a deeper way, as if you've known them for centuries. Cayce described them as keepers of passage, entities who oversee the transition and ensure that the soul arrives in the correct plane according to its growth and choices in life. Their presence is not stern, but deeply reassuring, like being guided by someone who has always known your path. This is also the moment when the last fragments of the physical world fade. The room where you died, the faces of the mourners, the sound of their voices. They slip away like mist under morning sun. It isn't forgetting, it's a release. You carry the love with you, but the pain no longer binds you. By hour 22, you stand at what Cayce called the gate of alignment. It is not a gate in the physical sense, but a threshold where your soul's vibration is measured and matched to the realm it will enter next. For some, this is a reunion with loved ones in a radiant landscape. For others, it is a place of learning and reflection before the next stage of existence. Every soul's journey is unique, but each is drawn to where it belongs most naturally, like a river returning to the sea. As the final hour approaches, you no longer think in terms of hours or minutes. There is only movement, smooth, silent, unstoppable. You pass through the threshold, and it's like stepping into sunlight after a lifetime in shadow. The colors are beyond any spectrum your eyes once knew. The air is alive, filled with a harmony that is both music and meaning. And then, a realization blooms. You have not ended. You have arrived. The first 24 hours after death were never about leaving life behind. They were about remembering who you truly are, a soul without limits, returning to the home you had forgotten but never lost. If you've followed this journey to the very end, you already know. The truth is stranger and far darker than we were ever told. But there are more secrets to uncover and more doors to open. So, stay in the shadows with us, subscribe, and step deeper into the unknown.